Good evening, everyone. Here are the March classes and workshop announcements. A sacred circle has been added because of popular demand, and it is 40 Days of Creativity. Join Reverend Lori Mack at her home in Carlsbad Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Starting this Tuesday, March 3rd, be the first to sign up In the family room, there are only 10 spots available, and there is a sign-up sheet in the family room. On March 5th, from 6 to 9 p.m., I Draw Loving Boundaries with Sharon Bagley, religious science practitioner, and Reverend Lori Mack. I Draw Loving Boundaries is a 4-week creative workshop focusing on drawing loving boundaries in our lives by being connected to our authentic wholeness. This class is expressed through simple brain gym movements, spiritual practices, and art exercises. Enjoy being the creative genius as you reveal God as your life. March 10th, 6 to 8:30 p.m., Connecting to Your Higher Self with Sarah Miller, Mondays for 4 weeks. March 13th at 7 p.m., The Dances of Universal Peace Sufi Dancing with Reverend Lori Mack and Christine Stevens. Simple song and dance celebrating all paths to God. Sunday, March 15th at 12:30, Languages from the Heart with Jen Phillips. And is Helen Lipke here? Okay, well, there will be tickets for the Mardi Gras, which is March 14th. So if you can't sign up tonight, you can sign up Sundays in the family room. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Richard Conviser on violin and Torsten Weimann on guitar. Richard and I met at Sufi camp in the desert, and when he plays that music, it just opens your heart. So I thought he would be wonderful here in the service. And the Dances of Universal Peace are going to be sponsored by Practicing the Presence on March 13th. We'll be with Christine Stevens and myself. And later on this year, we're definitely going to have Richard back with myself and another of our friends, and we're going to lead the dancers. So I welcome you here today. We are here to lift you up and to allow you to expand and grow in your spiritual awareness and just to tap into those infinite possibilities that are seeking to emerge within your life. Now, this is a candle lighting service. I'm going to invite you to come forward to light a candle. And when you light your candle tonight, have an intention and allow that intention this week to be for yourself, something that you want to show love and honor for who you are. Maybe you could do something for yourself this week to honor and appreciate the essence of who you are. So if you have not lit your candle, I'm going to invite you to do so now as our musicians play the next selection as we practice the presence together. Beautiful. So now I invite you to close your eyes as we go into the silence. Just take a deep breath and release. Take your next breath in and just allow it to go into your heart space. And just think of something or someone that you brings a lot of love and appreciation to your mind's eye. And allow that feeling to expand in your heart. And then during this time of silence, just allow this feeling to emanate throughout your whole body as we practice the presence together.
in this sacred space where I know truly God is all there is. There is no place where God is not. The joy that is God, the healing that is God, the peace that is God is everywhere present, in, through, as each and every one here. And I know and affirm that this evening is an evening in which each of us connect more deeply with that inner knowing that we are God expressing. And so it is. Good evening. My name is Candace Young-Schultz, and I'm one of almost 50 practitioners here at Seaside. And it is our joy to pray with and for you. If this evening you have something heavy on your heart, or if you have something that you're delighted about and would like to pray in gratitude for, or anything in the range of human experience. There are two of us practitioners here this evening. We would love to pray with you. We will be at the chapel in the foyer after service. My reading this evening comes from Brené Brown and then some amplification on that. The quote from Brené Brown is, "Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. Remember that your boundaries are yours to enforce. It is not the other person's job to guess or try to read your mind as to your needs and desires. It is your place to feel into when to say yes and when to say no, when to give leeway and when to define parameters. Boundaries are for everyone's benefit. Healthy boundaries create healthy relationships. Healthy relationships give way to peaceful, happy living. Boundaries keep drama at bay. It's when things are left to question, not quite certain, that resentment erupts. And you know that the minute you start to feel resentment, you've violated your own boundaries. Don't blame anyone else. This one's on you because you let it happen. Keep things simple. Tend to your boundaries. And this evening, Reverend Laurie is going to talk about loving boundaries."
Thank you, Candace. It's wonderful that we come together on a Wednesday to recognize the presence of God in our life, knowing that you are one with your Creator, and knowing that your Creator loves you, and you are loving and you are lovable. It is the essence of who you are. And when you know that you are beauty, love, intelligence, the only loving boundary that you ever have to draw is around you and your authentic wholeness of the truth of your being. For I know that we live in a third-dimensional reality, and even though I'm standing here and you're standing there, we appear to be separate. The innermost God and the outermost God is the one God. And on the unseen side of life, we are all connected. But any time that we are separate from our wholeness, from our oneness, is when we are breaking our spiritual boundary. And what I love about this teaching in Ernest Holmes is that this is a path of freedom. This is a path of being able to move above the victim consciousness and to be empowered to be, do, and have whatever it is that we want in our world. And what I love about Ernest Holmes is that he is open at the top. And there's a book called The Life and Times of Ernest Holmes by his brother Fenwick Holmes. And in that book, there's a very cute story about Ernest when he was a little boy. His mother used to call him the question mark because he was always in question. And because he was always in question, that empowered him to be who he became, to allow the universe to speak to him and give him the answers that he needed. And that's why he always reminded us to stay open at the top. And so when I came into this teaching, I'm a freedom girl. I love freedom. And I had a question that I needed answered. And it was really bothering me. Why is it that my authentic wholeness, that I am love, I am loving, I am lovable, I am the essence of God, and that is the truth about my being. But there was something else about me that ever since I was a little girl, I had this feeling inside me. I had this feeling that I wasn't enough. And I didn't know where it came from. And I've been dragging this along for all these years. And now I'm in this powerful teaching. And we believe in false beliefs. And I know there's many practitioners here in the audience. And I know that you can agree with me that this is probably the most popular false belief there is out there, right? That I am not enough. And you don't know how it's going to show in your life. It could show up within your physical illness. It can show up in your relationships. It can show up in the money situation. But what I know is that when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, of feeling like you're not enough, you want to transcend it. So I started to stay in the question. First of all, I wanted to know why I felt like this when I had a beautiful family and I've had a beautiful life and a beautiful career. Why is it there's something inside me that just doesn't feel like it's enough? And why can't I transcend that? So as I stayed open at the top and I asked the question over and over again, there was a book that was presented to me and I read it and it may have given me some answers. It was called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and I'm sure many of you have read it here. And in that book, he talks about our society and how our family and generations behind them have raised their children like they're raising dogs, like reward and punishment. Reward, meaning I need your approval, and punishment, I'm not enough. Reward, I need your approval, in my authentic boundaries is a spiritual boundary breaker. I don't need anyone's approval when I am the essence of the divine spirit and I am whole and I am perfect in every way. In punishment, I'm not enough. I am loved unconditionally. What do you mean I'm not enough? And then when I was a child, I was a born-again Christian, which I love born again. As a matter of fact, I love Joel Osteen. I get saved almost every day. But I always felt like if I was a good girl, I would go to heaven. If I was a bad girl, I'd go to hell. And we would always say this prayer, now I lay me down to sleep. I praise the Lord, my soul to keep. If I shall die before I wake, if I did my Bible study, I'm going to heaven. If I didn't, I'm going to hell. And this was a reward and punishment way of coming into the world. And then my college life was reward and punishment. So this was a social learning skill. And because we learn these skills socially, we've learned to become victims of our own circumstances. And that's why we probably have war, because we're mirroring to each other that we have to compete and we don't like ourselves. So this was a time to transcend that. Now that I understood where it came from, I knew that it was just a false belief, but there were behavior patterns that were playing out in my life. And in religious science, we believe that the lowest level of consciousness is the victim consciousness. But you can transcend that. You can transcend that by giving up the shame, blame, and the regret and going into the second level of consciousness, that everything is done by me. So now you're living a life of empowerment, knowing that you can transcend that not enoughness. However, I wasn't done with my questions. I wanted to know how that was mirroring back to me in my life. And I stayed open at the top, and I stayed in the question. And about 6 years ago, I came here to Seaside Centers for Spiritual Living for the first time, and the late, great, bless her heart, Debbie Ford, was doing a workshop here. And she was, her specialty was the shadow effects. So she knew a lot about I am not enough. And she was playing her movie called The Shadow Effect. And in that movie, they said, if you want to know how life is mirroring back to you, all you have to do is point your finger and blame everyone for what's going on in your life, right? So I thought, all right, I can do that. Matter of fact, I'm going through a separation. My ex is a good one. We all want to blame our exes, right? All right, here we go. I'm going to get the gun out. Okay, you're not enough this, you're not enough that, you don't have enough this, you don't have enough that, and oh, I see, I'm not enough. And because I don't feel like I'm enough, that was like shocking to me. I actually did that. You are emulating that back to me. You are the gift that was given to me to mirror to me how I was feeling about myself. Oh. But how am I going to transcend that? Besides prayer and meditation and spiritual practice. Now I have a journey. And I was able to sit with a minister who always claimed, I loved him, that he was first a practitioner. And I'll always remember that, because now that I'm a minister, I'm always first a practitioner. And I cherish that. And as I sat with him, he said to me, now, Lori, what is it that you can do to show the world that you are enough? How can you change your behavior patterns? You know it's a false belief, but can you wake up every day and say, I am enough, and what can you do? What is the action step? So I thought, yeah. So every day I woke up and I said, what would someone do if they loved themselves today? Well, today I thought, I'm going to start getting my nails done. I've always been too cheap to get my nails done. But this is a way of life for me now because I'm enough. I'm going to get my nails done. And then one day I thought, that's such a luxury to go get a massage once a month, isn't it? You know what? I'm enough. I'm going to go get a massage once a month. Because when I tell the world I'm enough, the world is going to tell me that I'm enough. What else did I do? Oh, I know. I started buying myself flowers on Wednesday at the market. I would never buy myself flowers. Are you kidding? That's okay. I don't need anything. So I started to buy myself flowers. And then 6 months later, I attracted a man with the flower consciousness that I'm still with today. It's a beautiful thing. So what I recognize that this is a daily practice for me because I spent 50 years thinking I wasn't enough. Now every day I have to practice loving myself and taking an action step because the action step is the behavior. Because I wasn't done with this. Once you have this feeling that you are not enough, there has been other behavior patterns in my life that has shown me that I am not enough, that I had to transcend. Now, another one is, and okay, don't laugh at me. You're allowed to be ignorant once, and then after that, you have to wake up, and it's just a mistake. So I'm in my foundations class, and I was a little shocked to find out that giving and receiving was reciprocal, like it was balanced. I was like, what? Are you telling me that as I give, I do receive? I didn't think that. I mean, as a good Christian girl, I knew that it's good to give, but I didn't think it was good to receive. I had no idea. I was actually standing there shocked when I heard that. Now, can you imagine what my life looked like and all I did was give, give, give? It was extremely unbalanced. And if you're a type of person that gives, 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 I can tell you right now that you're going to attract every single narcissist that's in your circumference. And the reason is because they're takers and you're givers, and you're the perfect match. You take from me, you take from me, you take from me. I take from myself, right? So then I had to ask the question, what would someone who loved themselves do? What would they do? And so I started to have balance. I had a girlfriend in my life for 20 years. Oh, God, I loved her. We would get on the phone every single day, and we would talk for an hour. Well, I shouldn't say that. She would talk for an hour, right, for 58 minutes. And I would listen to all her drama and her victim stories and this and that. And, oh, she's my friend. We've been friends for 20 years. And then I would start to tell her about my life. She'd go, oh, I got to go now. Bam. That's what it was like. It wasn't her. It was me. She was showing me that I wasn't enough because that is what I was projecting out into the world. So I had to take that and have a new balance and recognize my behavior. It's not enough just to have a false belief. You have to recognize how you are acting in the world. And I knew I was on the path to being a minister, and I thought, if I don't heal this now, I'm going to be in trouble when I get into ministry. Another one is people who don't think they're enough, they like to fix everyone, right? I'm going to give you unsolicited advice because I'm going to fix you, I'm going to fix you, I'm going to fix you, because if I fix you, it'll make me feel better. But really, I need to fix me, right? Because we know from the Ernest Holmes teaching that everyone is here to discover themselves, and you never have to fix anyone. And as a practitioner, the wholeness in me will always see the wholeness in you, and it's that divine spirit that's doing the healing. But when you sit in front of a client, you never fix them. You just guide them on their journey to know the truth about their life, and they will heal themselves. Have you ever tried to make unhappy happy? Oh. It's like getting on one of those hamster wheels. You keep going and going and going. You can't make unhappy happy. Just like Candace saying, when you say no, when you mean yes, because you're trying to make someone else happy, or were you saying yes when you mean no, because you're trying to make someone else happy? You can't make unhappy happy. You can stand on your head, you can do cartwheels, and unhappy still won't be happy. You're not happy, you're not happy, you're not happy. I'm unhappy trying to make unhappy happy. Everyone is responsible for themselves. You see, when you betray yourself because now you're not listening to yourself, so when you have something that comes into your life and you're not sure if you want to do it, the minute you betray your feelings is you know you're making the wrong decision. So when your feelings say no, you say no. Because if you're happy, the whole world is happy. And when you're joyful, the whole world is joyful. And when you love yourself, the whole world loves you. You see how it goes? This is a mirror image of what you're putting out into the world. So we know that in religious science that this is a religion that we are one with all of life when we are connected to our authentic wholeness. But we also recognize it's a science because there is a law that's always reacting to us. So if we don't feel like enough, the universe is going to say, yeah, you're right, you're not enough, right? But if we say, yes, I am enough, the universe is going to say, yes, you are enough. For this is the universal law. And what you focus on expands, expands, expands. But we also have a philosophy. In the year 400 before the Common Era, which is before Christ, there was one of the fathers of philosophy, which is Plato. And he told the story of the allegory of the cave. And what he was telling the story is that we can get used to a way of life, and it would be an illusion of how we are living our life, but we can think it's our reality. And so the story was that there was men who lived in a cave. They grew up in this cave, and their feet were shackled to the ground, and they were sitting on a bench, and their neck was shackled to the back of the bench. And they were just used to this. And up above them was light. There was a fire. And the fire brought light into the cave, and on the wall in front of them projected their shadow. So the only thing they could see is their shadow. And then when the birds would fly by, they would see the birds on the wall. So their reality, their illusional reality, which they think is real, is the shadow that they see in front of them. So one of the men is unshackled, and he's been in there his whole life, and he's taken out of the cave. And when he sees the light for the first time, he's like, oh my God, he's in shock. And then when he opens up his eyes, he gets used to the sun, and oh my God, he sees the moon, and then the stars, and the trees, and the flowers, and the birds, and people, and reality, and color, and he can't even believe it. And it was almost like when I was meditating every single day, and all of a sudden the veil was lifted from my head, and I saw that my life was full of lies, and betrayal, and deceit, and you betrayed me, and you betrayed me, and you betrayed me, and I was full of shock. But then when I saw the light, I realized I was just betraying myself. And I had a choice. I can go back into that cave where it felt comfortable, or I can go out into the light. And I could take responsibility for my life. And this is what we are here. We are here to stay in that light. And when the guy was taken out into the light, he came back in to tell everyone else, hey, this is not reality. Reality is outside where the light is. And they're like, oh no, we're not going out there. Are you crazy? You're nuts. They wanted to stay in the dark. And sometimes we want to stay in the cave. Sometimes we want to use that mask of denial and keep that on our face because it's comfortable. I know I'm being betrayed, but I don't want to admit it. That's what I was doing for so long. You know, there's a wonderful quote by Marianne Williamson. And every time I hear this quote, my heart just opens because there's words of truth in there. It goes like this. Our deepest fear is not that we are incapable. Our deepest fear is that we are light beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. And we might say, well, who am I to be loving, gorgeous, talented, amazing? Actually, who are you not to be? For you are a child of God, and you playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about you shrinking so that other people around you won't feel insecure. You are a child of God, and you are meant to shine. And we all are meant to shine like children do. We are all meant to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And it's not just in some of us, it's in each and every one of us. And as we let our light shine, we allow others to let their light shine. And as we are liberated from our own fear, we allow others to liberate themselves from their fears. For we are here to stand into the light. We are here to take responsibility for our life. And we are here to transcend any false beliefs that we have within us so we can have a life of freedom. So if there's anything within you that you're unhappy about, write it down and go through that and ask yourself, am I breaking a spiritual boundary right now? And if you are breaking a spiritual boundary right now, ask yourself, what would someone do if they loved themselves? What decision would they make if they loved themselves? That's really important. Before I leave you, I want to leave you with a very cute story. It's by the American Native Indians, the Dakota tribe. It's called the Swan Totem. And the swan was looking at the sacred mountains, and there was a swirling black hole. And Dragonfly passed by, and she said, Dragonfly, what's that swirling black hole right there? And he said, oh, well, that is the gateway to planes of imagination. And I happen to be the guardian of illusion. But you can't go in there unless you ask, and you can't go in there unless you earn the entry. And Swan said, well, how do I earn the entry? And he said, well, Great Spirit has plans for you in the future, and you have to promise that you are not going to disrupt the plans that are great for you in the future if you go in. And Swan looked at her ugly duckling body, and she said, I would be happy to enter the black hole. And I promise that I will not resist the Great Spirit. And whatever is presented to me, I will accept it. So the dragonfly used his magic, and what he did was he dissolved the illusion of the pond, and all of a sudden, the swan dissolved in the middle of the pond. And she didn't return for many, many days. And all of a sudden, when she returned, she was white, and she was beautiful, and she was long-necked. And Dragonfly said, Swan, what happened to you? And she said, oh, well, I surrendered to the Great Spirit's plan, and because I had faith, I've changed. I now am a state of grace. And grace is when you recognize and know that you are loved by your Creator. You are loved, you are loving, and you are lovable. You are the essence of God. And the only boundary you have to draw is around you and your eternal wholeness. For you are that swan. And let's pray. So we close our eyes and we come together as one. Recognize that power in the presence of God that is ever loving and ever good. For I know there's one universal presence that expresses itself everywhere in its fullest. And I know that I am the life of God. I know that all that God is, I am. I know that I am the perfection of love and wholeness and oneness and goodness. And as I know this for myself, I know this for each and every person here in the sanctuary. And what I know is that each person is loved, they are loving, and they are lovable. I know that any person here has a false belief within them that they would like to transcend, that they automatically take responsibility for that and just allow for the presence of God to transcend that false belief. For I know that each person is perfect, whole, and complete. And I know that each person here takes this message home with them and every day thinks, what can I do to show myself that I am loved? How can I show the world that I am the loving expression of God? For each person is perfect in their own way. Each person is that expression of God, that perfect child expressed in their wholeness. And I'm grateful for this moment as we come together in this sacred space to know the truth about your life. As I release my word into the law of mind, knowing that it is done, and so it is. Thank you. So now this is our time for our sacred giving. I invite you to take your gift in your hand. So we know that as we give, we do receive, that there is a universal balance, unlike that I knew in the past, right? And this is a time to support our spiritual sanctuary. So as we expand and we grow in the consciousness of love and joy, we bring that out into the world, and the whole world expands and grows in the consciousness of joy. So take your gift and place it over your heart as we come together as one and pray, knowing that God is ever loving and ever good. For all that God is, I am. For God takes this loving donation, this loving support, and allows the Spirit to express itself in ways that we don't understand. Ways that allows people to heal their hearts, their minds, their souls, knowing that this multiplies and blesses the world. And I release my word into the law of mind, knowing that it is done, and so it is. Thank you for coming forward without me asking you. Thank you. So heart-opening. So now is the time that we do our circle of love prayer. I'm going to ask you to bring someone in your mind's eye that may need a healing in your life. It could be yourself, a family or friend, or maybe the world. And as you raise your hand, I'll point at you and I'll ring the Tibetan bell, and then we'll come together as one in prayer. So does anyone here have someone in mind, Martha? Thank you. Raphael. Torsten. So I invite you to close your eyes as we come together as one for a circle of love. So we come together as one in consciousness, and as Ernest Holmes quotes, the circle of love is complete. It comprehends all. It includes all. It binds all together with cords of everlasting unity. I cannot depart from its presence nor wander from its care. The circle of love is complete within me. The circle of love is complete within the consciousness of the room. I know that we raise each person up high into the light and allow the essence of God to dissipate any kind of illness, any lack, any limitation, and any dis-ease. For I know the presence of God is in the life of each and every person. And I know right here and right now that God is revealed. And I am grateful for this perfect healing as I release my word into the law of mind, knowing that it is done, and so it is. And now I would like to thank Ray Holder for holding the light. I would like to thank Candace Young-Schultz for grounding us in spirit. I would like to thank Melanie Bennett for sound and Gregory Neville on video. And Tim is here too. I'd like to thank Tim. Thank you for coming. I would like to thank Richard Convassier for the violin, and Torsten Weiman for guitarist. And I love to bring up Martha. Please come up and sing us out. I love this closing song. It's one of my favorite Sufi songs. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be free from strife. May all beings return to love. Peace be with you forevermore. Please stand and hold on to hands as Martha sings us out.
May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be free from strife. May all beings return to love. Peace be with you forevermore. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be free from strife. May all beings return to love. Peace be with you forevermore.
Thank you.
Peace
Be
be
safe.
with you.
Peace be with you.
Forevermore.
Sufi clap.
Thank you. Thank you. Pretty good evening. Thank you. Well, you're really flowing tonight. That was lovely.